12th of May, Rabbi Furst, Ruth.
Good morning. Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Barry. Good morning, Roy. Good morning.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning. Okay. Good morning to everyone. This is Rabbi Shlomo Furst here, Yeshiva Tzama here in Yerushalayim, care of Zoom. We're learning our first year this morning, Megillas Ruth. We're in the second parak, and we'll continue on now. Let's see. We left off with just bringing this onto the computer. 1 second. With Pasuk, I think was it Pasuk Chaf? We marked down that we were just at that Pasuk.
I thought we were up to Yud Gimel.
You'd give. Oh, okay. Yeah, it could be. Let's take a look. Hold on. I just have to open up the Sefer here. Hold on. We'll get it. We'll verify everything where we are, what we're doing. All right.
Yes, it's, Yud Gimel.
That what you have, Roy?
Perek Bais, Yud Gimel.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right. Old American. That's good. Okay with me.
Okay.
All right. Any volunteers to read?
Well, I read yesterday, so I don't want to monopolize.
Okay, I'll read.
Okay. Go ahead. You can take it.
V'tomer es emtza chen beinecha Adoni ki nichamtani v'chi dibarta al lev shifchasecha ve'anochi lo eyeh ki achas shifchosecha. She said, may I find grace in your eyes, my Lord, because you have comforted me, and because you have spoken to the heart of your maidservant. And I am not like one of your maidservants.
Yeah. So
now what's that supposed to mean? That she's saying this is Ruth herself talking about herself, that she's not like one of the maidservants. Now what's that supposed to mean?
she's not converted yet.
So Barry, you're pushing the point, right? You're pushing the point,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. She's not converted, and she's telling him, I'm not converted yet, because he has to be informed. I mean, if you know what I mean, she was dressed, properly and all that. But,
the Gemara talks about that. The Gemara talks about that you're gonna have these gerim, that they're gonna dress Jewish, and they're gonna put on tefillin, and they wear tzitzis, and they'll put mezuzahs on their houses, but they're not really Jews. They're just pseudo Jews. They're just taking on the outward appearance of being Jews. So
right.
Looking like a Jew doesn't make a person Jewish, right?
Right. So she was telling him, slow down.
What was that salami company they used to advertise in New York, right? You eat this salami, you're like Jew, you're Jewish. You eat this salami, you're Jewish. I got the name of the company.
Oh yeah. And Hebrew National.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think it was Hebrew National.
Yeah, it was Hebrew National, right? Yeah, there was about 2,000 converts who were eating Hebrew National every day, and then they found out it didn't work.
That's right. So Yeah, okay, I will have to understand what Ruth is, so this,
Yeah.
this would be a statement of on her own. Meaning this is Ruth's her own, statement, unless she still feels she has a stigma. Let's say she will, maybe Barry could say maybe she was converted, but she still had felt a stigma that she was not from Jewish blood. Maybe that would go?
Well, okay. In the pasuk before that, Boaz says, may you be rewarded from the God of Israel. Tachas, Lechasos, Tachas, Kanofo. So he's thinking she's converted. I think that's what he means. You know, may you be rewarded because you converted and you came here and all that. And she's saying to him, well, slow down, old man, like I'm not converted yet.
There are a few other explanations that I've got here. You
Okay,
probably
yeah,
have
go
to.
ahead. Let's hear
One,
it.
one of them is that simply that it's just a deferential term, your maidservant, used in scriptures by women when addressing gentlemen, comparable to avadecha, your servant, sir. You know, it's just a way of addressing.
Right.
And Rashi says, and the Malbim, literally the words mean, and I will not be as one of your maidservants. Ibn Ezra takes the opinion that I'm not even worthy enough to be as one of your maidservants. But a different approach is taken by Mashal or Melitza. Ruth heard Boaz's promise to her of divine reward for her good actions. She answered him, "Thank you, my lord, for your attempt to comfort me with promises of reward, but it is unnecessary. I am," this is in italics, "I am not like one of your maidservants," and now out of italics, "who perform good deeds for the sake of reward. My intentions are only the Shem Shemayim, for the sake of heaven."
Okay.
So those are the different ideas there.
Look, there's no doubt she was a tzaddikus, but you know, whether she was officially converted at that time is up in the air.
I think she was. I don't know why I think that, but I think she was.
I mean, the only proof we have is that David HaMelech came from her. So she must have been properly converted at some point.
Well, I mean, most everyone agrees that she was converted. The question is when she actually became converted.
Right.
That's the question we're trying to answer. Okay, so there are different ways to learn this statement of Ruth, even though that it seems to be in itself it's a curious statement. But okay, well, that's what she said.
If you look at the previous pasuk,
Yeah.
it says, "May you have reward from the God of Israel, beneath whose wings you have come to shelter."
Right.
To me, that says that she's converted.
That's what the Malbim says.
Right.
The Malbim says that.
I've got a note here that I wrote down from some time ago that she says in 13, "You have spoken to the heart of your maidservant, though I'm not even as worthy as one of your maidservants." That appendage to that sentence is because she thinks and modifies her status to lessen the maidservants. This is a second thought of hers, though I am not even as worthy as one of your maidservants. That type of addition is, I think, is often used in order to emphasize her. She's not hoity-toity.
Her humility, right?
Beg your pardon?
Her humility.
Right.
Yeah,
She's
Yeah.
modest, very modest.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. Let's move on to the next pasuk and we'll continue on.
Vayomer la Boaz le'es ha'ochel goshi halom ve'achalta min ha'lechem v'tavalta pitech v'chometz vateshev mitzad ha-kotzrim v'yitzbat la kali vatochal vatisba vatosar. So, and Boaz said to her at the mealtime, approach here and eat of the bread and dip your portion in the vinegar. So she sat at the side of the reapers. He handed her parched grain, and she ate and was satisfied and left over. Now, I have a note that I wrote here that this word kotzrim,
Right.
which means reapers, is masculine.
Right.
So when it says she sat at the side of the reapers, that implies she was sitting with the males, which seems to be completely out of character.
Right.
I think she got out of that because I've got a note here that she ate the parched grain handed to her by Boaz so as not to join with the reapers who had a bread meal.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why that would oblige her to sit separately, unless she didn't want to join in with benching, I don't know. Or
I have a note from the Malbim that she actually sat next to Boaz, although I guess they were with the reapers. So maybe she wasn't. She was at the head of the table with Boaz.
mhm.
Let's see. It's not a coach stream. See?
Well, he was a widower.
Yeah.
So I have a commentary that says, in deference to Boaz's wishes, Ruth sat at the side of the reapers. She did not come near them or partake of the food, so he graciously handed her some parched grain of his own meal.
Right.
It says here that she sat beside the reapers, not in front of them, so that they should not glance at her, and not at the back of them, so she should not watch them, but alongside them.
Yeah, that's very good. The Alkid Shmoni, that's Chazal, said, B'tzad HaKotrim, on the side of them, below B'tok Kosrim, not amongst them.
Right.
That,
Yeah,
that
the
actually,
Alshif and Midrash.
that actually shows that she was separate from them. B'tzad, on the side of them, but not with amongst them.
Okay.
But that's pretty good. That's a pretty good understanding. Yeah, we wouldn't expect Ruth to be sitting amongst them.
Why didn't you go over to where the girls were?
Maybe there were no girls around. I mean, they're out there in the fields harvesting, not really a place for the women to be.
Well, who's these handmaidens that she's talking about? Weren't there women there also doing some part of the job?
I'm not sure.
They were gleaners, they weren't reapers.
Yeah, they would be
Right, but
coming.
they were there. I mean, when it came to lunchtime, they were there.
Yeah, but they didn't have reshus to come and join with the workers. You know, they were separate. Here, Ruth was invited into the club, right? That's what Boaz had told her. She could come on in and join in.
Right.
Well, these handmaidens don't seem to be. There were two kinds of ladies there. Some of them were following and getting the leket and the payah, right? They were following, but they were not his handmaidens. They were just poor people who were, getting the benefit of the leket. But he had handmaidens there. Your handmaidens, it says. Yours, they were his employees.
Right.
So they were his. So they were obviously provided for with water and all that.
Well,
They were working
yeah, I mean, take a look. I want you to take a look at Pasuk 6, the Pasuk Vav, right? Or hey, look at the or Pasuk Hey. Look at Pasuk Hey to start with.
Yeah. Lemi Hanara Hazos. Who is this maiden? Who does she belong to?
Right. So he said, "V'yomer Boaz lenaroi and nitzav ala coaching." He said, Boaz said to his nar, like that was his assistant, right? Who was nitzav, who was overseeing the coaching. So
Right.
Boaz had his assistant, and then there were the coaching were the harvesters, and those were probably men. Men would probably go out and do that work, right? And so he noticed that there was this Ruth there out in the field behind the coaching. So he said, "Why don't you tell me who's this person over here?" Right? And so he said in the Vinyana Nar Nitzav al coaching, it said the Nar who was the overseer over the harvesters. He says, "Naira Moavia." She's a Nara. She says, "This is a Moavia," and she's the one that's with Naomi, right? So it was an unusual thing that she should be out there, right? And whether there were other women out there or not, I'm not so sure. I don't know, right? But you had the coaching were the employee, the workers, and you had other people who were overseeing them, and now I guess it was break time for lunch, whatever it was, and so Boaz had given Ruth permission, so she out of her modesty didn't sit amongst the coaching. She sat on the side of them, right? Okay.
Well, I'm sure there were other gleaners, not the reapers, but the ones who were following and getting the leket. I'm sure there was more than just her.
Well, okay, we'll see. Hold
I
on.
mean-
We'll-
The big,
Well,
he had a big plantation.
Also, I think in the plural in Dikduk,
Yeah.
they use the masculine to also include the feminine, people.
In which phrase, man?
When we were talking about hakotzrim,
Right,
the noun, the harvesters,
right.
it could possibly mean, I mean, according to Hebrew Dikduk, that it could include the women too.
Okay, could be.
My wife said that she doesn't think it does, though.
But would they be reapers? That's the point.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah.
No, that was pretty much a masculine job.
Yeah, you have to get
Yeah,
out there with,
maybe
you have
you're
to get
right.
out there with the sickle, start wielding the sickle left and right there, right? Not easy work, Roy, huh?
No, it's quite exhausting.
Yeah, you got the, how you wielding a sickle for 12 hours is, pretty serious work.
Mhm.
Yeah, and carrying those sheaves, they were heavy.
I imagine so.
When you gather up a bundle,
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, so let's take a look at the next pasuk. That's Vav. So I guess lunch was over. So
I don't think we did 15.
yeah, 15. Yeah, test
Vav,
Vav.
yeah.
Test Vav, right.
V'takam leket vayitzav Boaz es na'arav lemor gam bein ha'amarim tilaket velo sachlimuha. Okay, so she got up to glean, and Boaz told his young men, also between the sheaves, she can glean, and do not. It says embarrass her. Do not tachli muha does that mean to embarrass?
That's right.
Don't embarrass her. Let her, in other words, let her take more than the halacha provides,
Right.
strictly speaking, and don't chastise her. Don't embarrass her means what? Don't make her feel bad because she's taking more than she should.
Maybe, I'm not sure. That's what I'm trying to figure out here.
but they were only allowed to take like one stalk or two stalks, right? And if three fell, they couldn't. They had the Rus would have to pass over it, and
Right.
the other gleaners, right? There was very strict halacha what they could take.
It was actually let her glean even among the sheaves.
Right.
So give her a completely free hand, not a matter of quantity. Even if she gleaned from between the sheaves, which the poor are not legally entitled to,
Oh, that's
Right. Right.
nevertheless, Boaz ordered, do not embarrass her. And
Yeah,
do
but-
not embarrass her, quietly encourage her and be sympathetic to her situation.
Well, so he's violating the halacha. Because if there had to be other gleaners there besides her. I mean, that was a big opportunity for the poor people. So I'm sure she wasn't the only gleaner who showed up. And the way I understood it from past years, that you're not permitted to show favoritism to one gleaner over another. They have to follow the halacha, and that's it.
Well, actually, Boaz gave orders to his young man. It says here, Boaz's invitation to Ruth was meant as a signal to her that he was ready to support her at his table. He assumed that she would no longer wish to demean herself by gleaning in the fields like a common pauper, but she was determined to do that, so he acquiesced. And then he also informed his employers not to embarrass her. So by accepting her at his table, he's actually brought her up out of being a pauper, a gleaner, like a common pauper. He's raised her, so he's probably taken her out of the obligations of what the paupers are supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's pretty, that's pretty, moving pretty fast. He just met her.
Uh-huh.
And already he's saying, I'm going to support you and all this, you know, I mean, it's not the usual behavior for someone like Boaz.
Well,
Oh, I don't know.
well, don't forget that that if you look at the pasuk Yud Aleph, take a look at pasuk Yud Aleph,
Mm-hmm.
right?
The Yan Boaz,
Yes,
V'amar lo, who God li kol asher asis et chamotech acharei mos ishech v'tavi avicha v'mech v'eretz v'ladaticha v'telchi el ha'am asher lo yodat tamol shilsham.
right.
So
So
it was told to me. Oh, so he knew her.
right, he knew, and he knew what he did with Naomi. That first of all, he knew that this was Ruth, who was married to his relative
His nephew.
Elimelech's son. Right, he knew that, and he knew that she had done a lot of chesed by staying with Naomi. Right, so he's whether he officially or unofficially, but he's inviting her to be elevated in status, not just be one of the poor people collecting the gifts for the poor people in his field, but he's actually becoming part of one of the family or one of the crew.
Yeah, she's already part of the family, isn't she? Yes.
Yeah, to a certain to one extent or another, yeah, right.
So she's different in relation to him than the other gleaners who are not related at all.
Right. So by inviting her to sit and join them, right? So that means that she's becoming an elevated status from that of a regular poor person to that of a family or relative.
Mm.
That's why she says in Pasuk 7, I will gather among the sheaves, because a pauper is not supposed to gather among the sheaves.
Right.
It says in the commentary on verse 15, paupers were generally not permitted to pick among the sheaves, lest they take stalks out of the sheaves themselves.
Right.
When therefore the overseer had implied that Ruth was picking from among the sheaves, Boaz instructed his workers that if she picked from among the heaps and even took from the bound sheaves to which she was not entitled, they should not stop her. But what I don't understand is that we understand that she was very proper and that she was observing the halakha very carefully, and she was not doing anything that she shouldn't do. So why is it say if she picked stuff she shouldn't pick, don't stop her?
Because
Right.
she was a convert. She didn't know all the halacha. She didn't know everything.
Oh, I think she did. It says here that two things about that. I will gather among the sheaves. So it says forgotten, so-called forgotten stalks after
Yeah.
the harvesters. That is a stalk overlooked or so-called forgotten by the harvesters, says Rashi. But there's a different interpretation by Geras Shmuel, who says she meant or said, I don't want charity. I'll even pay you for the privilege of gleaning by helping the harvesters gather the sheaves.
Uh-huh.
So,
This is all-
she's saying, "Oh, let me gather the sheaves in order to help the harvesters, and this will be my payment for being allowed to take what I'm supposed to take."
Yeah. What pasuk were you referring to those commentaries, Roy?
7.
7. If you so let's go back to the pasuk number 2, the second pasuk. What was Ruth's original statement about all this?
Wait.
Go back to number 2.
Here we are. Ruth the Moabite said, let me go out to the field and glean among the ears of grain behind someone whose eyes I shall find them. All right.
Well, that's pretty generic. I don't think that really helps us.
Yeah, because I think, yeah, she was, at that time, she had no idea about Boaz, did she?
Yeah, I think she. Yeah, I think she.
No.
Well, I mean, later we saw that she came upon the field of Boaz. It was sort of like that. She was unexpectedly found in. She chanced upon. She came across that portion belonging to Boaz. It wasn't
Yeah.
that she went out looking for the field of Boaz.
Hmm. So she knew about Boaz, but she didn't know that that he was around there.
Right. Right. Okay. Let's look at the next pasuk. That's Test Zion.
We did.
V'gam shol tasholu la min hatzivasim va'azavtem v'lik ta v'lo sigaru va. And also pull stalks for her from the heaps, then leave and let her pick, and do not rebuke her. And my comments that I wrote here was that on this word tasholu, carelessly. So they should pull out in and next to shoal it says forgetful. So they should pull out the stalks in a forgetful and careless manner. In other words, they should look like they're being forgetful and careless when they pull these things out, so that she'll think that she's entitled to them.
Right. So we see that Boaz is going and saying that there should be especially generous to Ruth, right? And so therefore that seems to prove the point that she wasn't collecting the matanas aniim, because that obviously Boaz doesn't have reshus to give the gifts that belong to the poor to anybody specifically. You can't do that.
Right, right. So he was saying, give him from the main bundles.
Right, that which belongs to him, that's certainly within his abilities and wishes to do. Right, so she wasn't simply just getting the Matnas Evyonim, the poor purpose. Yeah,
I've got an interesting side note I wrote down here that in Hashanahs, of Sukkot, we beat the Aravos. So there's sort of an illusion there with the beating. So she beat out what she had gleaned. She purified.
yeah, right.
So to speak.
They have to take it back to the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Says here also that she did the gleaning, she did the beating in order to reduce the quantity, the mass of what she had to carry, so that during the evening it was she was frightened of going by herself, so she didn't want to have to go backwards and forwards to the field until she'd gathered everything. So she did the beating there, and she was able to take the corn or the grain, whatever, the wheat grain, at one go. She didn't have to brave the night time a few times.
Okay. Okay. Just a second. Okay, very good. Fine, let's continue on. Number Yud Zayin, Pasuk Yud Zayin.
Vat laket basadeh ad ha'arev vatachbol es asher liketa vayehi ke'efa she'orim. Okay, so she gleaned in the field until it was evening, and she beat
Oh,
what she had gleaned, and it was like an ephah of barley.
sorry, I commented a sentence ahead. Anyway.
That's a lot of grain. That's a lot of grain to carry back to town.
Oh, well.
It's it. The Yachim says,
Yeah, go ahead, Luke Barry.
the Yachim says the combined result of Boaz's generosity and Ruth's industriousness and God's blessing was that in a single day, she had gathered the remarkable quantity of an ephah of barley, a 10-day food supply. An ephah is 10 omer or 3 seh. 10 omer, that's, you know, it's a lot for one girl to carry.
Mhm. Yeah,
An omer is about 1.5 gallons, I think.
okay.
Okay, well,
That's about 15 gallons.
yeah, well, that's a very large quantity, just the size of it alone, besides the weight.
Right.
So she
right.
A remarkable achievement.
She's not? Okay.
Okay, very good.
So Rebbe, what did we gather from here
Turn this on.
that Boaz is expressing an interest in Ruth?
Okay.
Well, I don't know, maybe it might be because of my Naomi. I don't know. I mean, maybe he wanted to get Naomi. He didn't want Naomi to starve and to live like a poor person. Right? But now,
Earlier on, we were told that Boaz was, that's right, Boaz's servant, the overseer, tried to encourage him not to have an interest in Ruth. And one of the reasons he said that she's half your age.
Exactly.
right.
So maybe he didn't have an interest in Ruth at that time, or maybe he didn't know it. That happens a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, that happened.
But he knew she was his relative.
Yes.
So
Somehow. Yeah.
So I guess his kindness was not so much romantic as it was just a family obligation.
Right.
Good.
That point.
Okay, that makes sense. That's good. Okay. Okay, let's see what happens next. Pasuk Yud Ches.
Yud Ches.
Vatisa vatavo ha'ir v'tereh chamosa es asher li keta vatotze vatiten la es asher ho si ra mi sav ah. Okay, so and she carried it and came to the city.
Mhm.
And her mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, and she took out and gave to her that which was left over from after she was satisfied.
That was from the field.
What she took in the field, right?
Yeah, that was from her meal. The meal that Boaz gave her, she didn't eat all of it.
Yeah. So what? Well, so
She left over.
well, so, again. So, well, yeah, but hold on. So, but she carried. What did she carry?
She carried the 15 gallons of grain that she had beaten out.
Okay, and that's because that's in. Okay, and then Naomi saw what she had saw, right? V'tera chamosa es asher le'akate. And so Naomi saw what she had gleaned, right?
Right.
And then after that, Rototzi mitite law, she took out and gave to what she had left over from her eating, right?
Mhm.
So
So she is Naomi.
Naomi's getting from Ruth. What is Naomi getting from Ruth?
The leftover meal that she had in the field with Boaz.
Right. And what did she do with the rest of the grain that she brought home?
She gave it to Naomi.
Okay, so that's a bit curious, right? Why did she give over what she had left over from? Why didn't she give her over from what the crop was?
Because it's not edible. You have to cook it or prepare it. She's not going to eat raw grain.
Maybe she
It has to be cooked or ground up something. But what Ruth brought back from the meal from lunchtime, she saved part of it for Naomi. right? It says, wait, where was it? Where is it? It's,
Right.
Vayitzbat la kali v'tochal v'tishba v'toter. Right? She ate and then she had leftover. So she didn't, that's what she gave to Naomi, the leftover prepared meal. What was Naomi going to do with 15 gallons of raw grain? Naomi wasn't going to eat from that. She had to have the the roasted grain. Yeah, you have to take the grain and you have to roast it like like popcorn or whatever, or
You have to prepare it. You have to.
yeah, you have to prepare it.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
It takes time.
In contrast, the food she ate and was left over was already pre-prepared, right?
yes,
Okay, very good.
because Boaz gave her prepared food.
Right.
Los seis ha'echel gishi. Right?
All right. So
V'halam v'chat min halechem. Okay. So she's being very kind to her mother-in-law.
yeah.
So in the sentence it says the mother-in-law saw what she had gleaned, right, and she took out and gave her what she had left over. So the first she is Ruth, the second her, the her is Naomi, and the last she is Ruth again,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Okay. Fine. All right. Could be maybe this is a good place to stop. We're at just make a note that we're on Pasuk Yud Tet. Okay.
Good test. Okay.
Okay. We'll continue, I guess, on beginning of next week. I guess tomorrow, Erev Shabbos, 9:30. If we like, we can meet and discuss something about the Parshas Shavua.
Mhm.
Make it, that would be great. Roy, have a good afternoon. Hope to see
Thank you very much, Rabbi. You too. Be well,
Very good.
all of you.
We'll take a short break right now and
Big time?
continue
Okay.
soon with the Mr. Brewer.